See if we can clear this up. Rick,
Hey,
all right.
much better.
Much better.
I'm starting to feel lonely out here.
Well, you know what the best part about what we do is we can never feel too lonely when we all get together as one, especially when you have two diehard Americans that are willing to stand up for what's right and are
Hoorah.
rugged and tough.
Hoorah. All
Hoorah.
right, let's lock and load. I mean, we were actually starting to have a God blessed conversation that was pretty intense before you got us up online moments ago. And the bright light that you see, that's what's keeping me warm. I've got a that's what's keeping me warm in 31-degree temperature right now. I'm in a garage that's separate from the house. So I've got a so-called heat lamp on. If you can see my voice, I'm not smoking. If you can see, it is that God blessed cold in here.
I don't know why you do that to yourself, but I understand why, because the stuff we talk about can sometimes upset people's ears. But oh well, what do we care?
Well, we do care. That's the whole thing. Is the fact is we don't sacrifice ourselves for just for kicks and grins.
No, we don't.
We have we've laid ourselves out there as examples, and that we will do what it takes to bring back freedom to a nation, that one nation under God, our creator, that our founding fathers, a lot of people will say, well, our founding fathers were deists. Well, they believed in a higher power. They didn't have to be Christians. It wasn't until the end of Thomas Jefferson's life that he declared that he was a Christian. But we do believe that we are ordained by a higher power, and that higher power is not man. Man is flawed. And we, the people, were ordained under God, and that was the belief of our founding fathers. We were ordained under God to stand against the tyranny of King George the Second, but or third and fourth or whatever king came across us. And presidents are our top servants, and that's what most people don't get. Is we're a self-governing people. Keep that in mind. It says it quite clearly. We don't need government's permission as long as we're not harming anyone or their property. What evil have we done? Keep that.
That's correct.
And we lost our government many decades ago. Our government, and I have paperwork that'll clearly show you that they declare we, the people, enemies of the state. Got to keep that in mind. We're
Property, animals, and
no.
entities that they own.
That's what they would like to believe.
Right.
But that's not true. That is far from true. We, the people, are the most dangerous people on earth when we, the people, stand together and recognize that nobody is our master other than our creator. And our creator endowed us with those certain unalienable rights, which was a trust and a contract for government to abide by. And for any government and any government official that walks outside the Constitution, that oath of office that they took in order to hold that position, is called warring against the Constitution. That is an act of treason.
Yes, it is.
I don't see any other way to define what we're dealing with today. Is a bunch of treasonous bastards and bitches.
Let me ask you this. How many out there have said those exact statements in front of Congress or on live television to we the people? How many of you have can name even 5 on your fingertips
Lieutenant
of those that
Scott
dare
Bennett.
challenge the narrative?
Lieutenant Scott Bennett and I have been doing it since God knows when. And when we called out the child traffickers back in 2015 and 16, showing that judges and the CPS are behind the child trafficking going on in the United States of America. And I mean, our lives have been threatened over and over again because we've got the lists. How many of you knew, and I know some of you do know, that I'm the one that has the list, the Jeff Epstein list.
You got his black book, absolutely, and you released that.
And
for
I
those
also
that aren't
had
paying
the flight
attention,
logs. I also had the flight logs.
And the flight logs.
Scott Bennett and I have been after these bastards, showing you that we, the people, are the government. Okay? We delegated limited authority to government to protect our unalienable rights. Keep that in mind. Government did not turn us into the bitch, but unfortunately, we go along with their narratives because most of these people have been paid off or blackmailed. Those are the facts. Question is, what are we going to do about it? Well, starts with collectively, because you ever see what happens when one man stands against tyranny and he doesn't have anybody backing him, he disappears or ends up in prison. If we work collectively, if we work together for the changes we want to become that one nation under God, our Creator, we can do it because we have the numbers. We just got to get the courage. And I'm not going to bloviate all night. I've done that before.
We've had many conversations like that. Never stop fighting. Thank you, Patriot 338. You know, there's a lot of people on here that are just as diehard or as gun-ho and that preach about America, liberty, and freedom on a constant daily basis. And I'm happy to know some of these people.
Good.
And a lot of them know what the solution might have to come down to eventually if we cannot get the proper people to do what's proper by the people. You know, and I'd say this for starters, and I don't mind saying it: make tar and feathering great again. Hold politicians, make them accountable again.
Absolutely.
Let them know that their de facto unconstitutional traitorous deeds that they have done to we the people shall not go unpunished.
And who's going to hold them accountable? It should be back to our county sheriff. If we don't have a constitutional sheriff, okay, let's go back to, we all know the story of Robin Hood, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. The sheriff of Nottingham did the bidding for the king. He was the king's enforcer. Am I correct on that?
Yes, he was.
Okay. Now, the first time in world history, we the people became the sovereign. Okay? Sovereign without subjects. And then we had a constitution where we created public officers to protect our unalienable rights under God. We gave them we delegated. Now let's look up the word delegated. Did we give up our power? No. We delegated limited authority to government to protect our unalienable rights, number one, to protect our borders, and to coin our money. Now, I've said this many times, and you people that know me, how have they done so far?
Terribly. They've taken
So,
their power and quadrupled it.
if we delegated, did I give up my power? Did I
No.
give up any of my rights? My rights are unalienable under God. In other words, they cannot be leaned upon by government, especially a government I created or we the people created. And that government clearly states to ourselves and our posterity, are we not the posterity of the founding fathers of this nation? Did we not conquer Britain in order to be a self-governing people? Yes, we did. I was waiting for you to answer, but that's okay.
I'm just
gonna
listening
keep
in,
holding
guys.
you on
Hope
spot.
some of you guys are paying attention here because, you know, between not just between the knowledge that Rick and some others have, including myself, whatever, the whole point of our country is so that we are free, free from tyranny, free from taxes, free from tyrants, and we have sovereign rights that have been
Under
treaded
God.
upon under God.
Under God.
Inalienable, irremovable, irreplaceable rights
Absolutely.
that shall not be infringed no matter what. And the government has decided for itself to dictate and decide what rights we're still allowed to have.
Let me ask you this.
Reason by design.
Let me ask you this. You got a 13-year-old son out of control. He decides he's going to run the family. How does that work for you as the father? Because
be like,
you created him.
Sit down,
He
buddy
didn't
boy.
create you.
Yeah.
And it's your duty to show him the way. And all of a sudden, a 13-year-old son decides he's going to run the family. He doesn't have a job. He doesn't have a way of making money other than saying, Dad, can I have my allowance? What is taxation? Come on, folks. You got a 13-year-old spoiled, rotten brat telling you what you can do in your household.
That's right. When you let the kids run the show, you don't have a household anymore. And you're definitely not following God's order, that's for sure. Like a lot of families today, and I think that's why we're at the pinnacle of America collapsing because of that. Because we let the kids do whatever they want. We don't discipline them. We don't teach them.
Spare the rod, spoil the child.
Spoil the child, entitle them.
When we go back and we start talking about holding them accountable by their indemnity bonds, which every politician must have an oath of office and an indemnity bond. So if they harm the public, we let them know, hey, you're harming us. You better stop. Otherwise, we're going after your bond. See, before an indemnity bond happened, a governor had to have 1,000 acres because if he harmed the public, we took his land.
You see, that's why we got to make it great again. We got to make holding politicians
by holding them accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody wants to hold them accountable. Nobody, the Constitutional Law Group has been showing you how to do this for over 30 years. We, the people, are the energy. I mean, I can get into so many subjects that just drive me insane. Just like Joe Bannister. If Joe Bannister were on tonight, he will tell you the word income's not what you think it is. I stopped paying taxes back in 2000 because I realized I'm being fleeced by a government that doesn't have the authority. How many people know the IRS is incorporated in Puerto Rico? How many people knew that? I mean, I can go on all day long showing you the fraud. And see, under international law, that's what they put us in. You're allowed to lie to other nations. What? Yeah. Well, our government is a corporation that's not of the United States of America. And its duty is to fleece you because you're now considered an enemy of the state. And until we, the people, here's where it goes. If you remember me bringing up Dr. Desi Andrews, I don't know if she's even still alive to this day, but she was a very good friend of mine out of Austin, Texas. She was a law professor. And she said, in order to take our nation back, all we have to do, because after 1871, is there was never a declaration of peace. That's where we got into martial law and martial rule. Wow, that's where these statutes and codes come by. But see, if I'm a U.S. citizen, I got to follow those. But if I'm a sovereign, I don't have to follow that stuff. Well, Rick, you think you're above the law? Statutes and codes have never been law. I can prove that all day long.
They're byproducts of the de facto corporation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we operate under. We don't operate under the Constitution anymore because what do the forefathers know? It's just an old piece of parchment. But yet we get all our other laws from it.
Yeah. How about the fact that law of the land, but what is statute and code? Admiralty maritime law.
Admiralty maritime law, correct. And I tell people that all the time, and they have no idea what I'm talking about still.
Well, keep talking because you're doing a good job. I'll tell you that. Okay.
Well, I've had people like you to learn from, and all the books that I bought, the sovereignty books, the civil peace flag book, everything educates you, in which our school systems have unfortunately failed the people.
Oh, absolutely. They took civics out of the schools. Okay, now remember, it was in 1978 that Jimmy Carter created the education department. And ever since then, it's been downhill from there. It really is.
I'm going to read something to the audience and for yourself that'll just fire us up even more. This was Sam Adams on the rights of the Americans. And he wrote this. It was actually featured in the Boston Gazette back in 1771, December 23rd.
Even before the Revolution. Before the Revolution. And he was
actually have been talking about it for that, and that's what led up to it, because people would not stop and they wouldn't give up. The same way you and I are talking about what our rights actually are and how corrupt this government system is. That's what they did. So he goes to say this, and this is awesome, because this is exactly what we're saying, just at a different time. So I'm going to start with this. He talks about property and the government. He's like, it is as old as the Constitution. Indeed, it is its support. The taking away of this right must then be in the opinion of the great lawyer, the removal of the very support of the Constitution upon which all civil liberties depend. Taxation and representation are inseparably united. This position is founded on the laws of nature. It is self an eternal law of nature. Whatever man is a man's own is absolutely his own, and no man has a right to take it away from him without his consent, either expressed by himself or his representative. Whoever attempts to do it attempts an injury. Whoever does it commits a robbery. He throws down the distinction between liberty and slavery. He was talking about the rights of the Americans, like you had said, before the Civil War. That's how tired I am. Before the Revolutionary War had started.
Right.
And that's the thing.
And he's talking about a constitution, but Samuel Adams was one of the first presidents. How many people knew that we had 13 presidents for the continental United States
Right here.
before George Washington?
Right here.
Welcome to the party, folks. Because we the people have always been the power behind government. And right now, we've become so beat down that we don't question government anymore when we should have. Okay. Dr. Dave Martin, who's also part of my team, also brought up, we were the first ones to come out and say the scamdemic was a scamdemic in March of 2020. I actually wrote before they started shutting down the states. And we have it on our website, the letter I wrote Trump in January of 2020. Or was it 2020? Yeah. I already wrote him a letter stating that shutting down the states is unlawful. No mandate can overrun the property rights of we the people. And it was the very next day that Bill Barr came out and said, governors don't shut down your states, but they did it anyway. We had good old Fauci pushing the false narrative of the flu. And that's what it was.
All these government dictators, these Democrat dictators in all these states, like Governor Murphy said, the Bill of Rights is beyond my pay grade, Tucker. I'm going to shut down this state whether you like it or not.
I was the one that went after Murphy.
Hey, I stood side to side with you back in 2021 in October.
I get you, brother.
I was with you, and we served the papers with Ian Smith from Attila's Gym. We did all that. And you know what the most messed up part about the whole thing was? Despite it being ignored, they still continued to pester, to illegally and unlawfully arrest people for not wearing a mask, for not getting a shot. A lot of people suffered and died under this de facto government. And, a lot of you out there are probably fed up. Keyword fed. We are fed up with the feds. And we've been trying to play nice. We've been trying to do things the right way. But sooner or later, my good friends, tar and feathering will come back.
Well, that's what we used to do with those that acted outside their oath of office. And you heard me say it's time we start re-erecting the gallows outside of every county courthouse.
Correct.
I've said it. And I'm not taking it back.
No.
I mean it. I mean it. And you know what? If the sheriff is not going to work with we the people, we'll militia against that sheriff. And I know that sounds brick. Yeah, I don't give a shit. My freedom is more important to me and my posterity than that jackass's paycheck where he's violating his oath of office, because every public servant took an oath of office to uphold, protect, and defend that Constitution.
That's right.
To the best of their ability. And when I show them that they are acting wrongly, they have 72 hours to change their course. 72 hours. If they don't change their course within 72 hours, now I'm going to make a formal claim that they are acting against their oath of office. That's where the indemnity bond comes in. But I don't want their money. I want their lives.
I agree.
They're ruining lives of we the people.
That's right. They're illegally murdering,
I don't
forcing
want their
vaccinations. Screw them.
I don't want their indemnity bond. I've had millions. Let me tell you. Doesn't make me any better than I was when I was broke. And I'm broke again. because we have a nation that finds it okay to freeze my bank account. You guys knew about that, didn't you?
Sure. You were speaking about that the other day. The majority of Americans think being an American is going to work, paying your taxes, and putting yourself into countless amounts of debt for the deep state, and willfully doing this because it's your patriotic duty to do so. Are you no more of a traitor than the actual traitors up top that have told you that this is the way things are in this country? Give me a break.
Wouldn't it be smart to educate yourself on what it really means to be an American? I mean, think about it. I mean, as an American, we the people are, the world looks to us. The world does look to us because we were that one light on the hill for other nations to follow.
We were the example against all
We were the
tyranny.
example how to overcome tyranny. And that's where the whole 3%ers comes in, is only 3% of the colonists stood against Britain. Now, I will say our founding fathers were actually pretty brilliant. They waited for them to get into a war with India. So they were separate.
Right. They were waiting. Even back then, England
the
was
right
at purpose.
opportunity to where we could separate their forces. And it was by the grace of God. I'm going to tell you that. It was by the grace of God. We won our independence. And we did. And how many people know why we had the war? See, I'm that cheap. I'm even rolling my own cigarette.
Well, that's the best kind there, sir.
But, oh, I've got Winston's here. Don't get me wrong.
As we do with Late Night Patriots. Let's go. Let's go. I'm about to smoke a cigar in my own room. I don't give a damn. You know, here's the thing, right? Before I read this next quote by Thomas Jefferson, these people fought against the same things. Listen, the boogeyman is back. And if we don't do something against this boogeyman, the next boogeyman is going to be even worse. Our forefathers had sacrificed everything.
We lose America, the whole world goes dark. I'm sorry to cut into that. But we lose America, the whole world goes dark. You're looking at 1,000 years of darkness. Keep that in mind. And really, I mean, it's not just our freedoms. It's the future freedom of our progeny, our offspring. And Satan is relentless. We'll give him that. He is relentless. And where do they first start going into us is attacking the family. Okay? The family is the number one unit of society. Right?
That's right.
Then your communities. And they've indoctrinated the courts to steal the offspring of we the people for no apparent reason, because I've had to deal with so many cases, literally cases of child trafficking. You guys know that's how I came out of my retirement. I mean, I had plenty of money. I made my fortune in the golf world. But I was still, it was a hobby of mine, is Constitutional Law Group. Constitutional Law Group, you know, I studied law. We all got together back in 1990. And, you know, people like John Quaid, we'd all meet and we would discuss our ideas and we would try new paperwork. We would literally try to get ourselves arrested to see if the paperwork would work.
Of course, that's a trial and error.
Yeah. And we studied the Constitution. We worked with each other. And that's what the whole Constitutional Law Group started from, was just us saying, wait a minute, something's wrong here. And that's what it was. Something was definitely wrong. And we didn't like the way our nation was going. And by the grace of God, we hit some major points. And we were able to put together things like the non-statutory abatement. And we were showing the courts for what they were, a for-profit corporation. The more we studied into it, and then all of a sudden, wait a minute, corporate government? Okay, so if it's a corporate government, they must have a Dun and Bradstreet number. Yeah. So I mean, it was like God was leading us. God was giving us the breadcrumbs. He says, I'm
going down a rabbit hole, but then coming out alive and telling people about it. I mean, seriously. But, you know, a lot of people out there, how many can attribute themselves to going further into what's behind the curtain and not being afraid to go a little bit further and expose it? Plenty of people have not been able to get past that first curtain.
Well, that's fear.
Door, per se.
It's fear. And they will threaten, they will do everything they can. And it's guys like me, it's guys like, you know, Pendergrass that will say, bring it on. Bring it on. We'll take the arrows. But over time, you guys got to realize we've taken a lot of arrows, man. But
you need an additional army to help you.
It's for your benefit. I mean, we do this as a labor of love, and people got to realize that. You know, I have lost all my possessions, and I'm not crybabying about it because I still got my mind, and I still have the ability to go out there and continue to teach what I know as fact and truth. Money didn't make me. I made the money. Keep that in mind. And they figured, we freeze his bank accounts. We'll steal his automobiles. We'll do all this to him. We'll throw him in jail. We'll do this. Guess what? Still the same guy.
That's right. Ain't going to change you. Because we know what happened to the forefathers. The same exact thing. They were a bunch of ragtags and outlaws, and they didn't care. The only thing they cared about was to free themselves from all that crap.
When I gave that speech at Hell's Kitchen, do you remember that? I put it up there. Hell's Kitchen, the first thing I said was 56 men vowed their lives, their fortune, and their sacred honor not to violate the trust of we the people. And that was the Constitution. And how many of those people, 5 of them were captured, taken back to England, where they were tortured till the end of the war. 9 of them died of their wounds on the battlefield. The majority of their wives and offspring were murdered, and their homes were burnt to the ground. But let's go back to this. Not one of those men ever violated their oath of office. Yet here we deal with judges, prosecutors, cops, every God blessed day. Boom, that quick, violate their oath of office to uphold, protect, and defend the rights of we the people under the Constitution for which they swore an oath to protect.
Because they're nothing much more than a bunch of policy, keyword policy, holders and protectors of the matrix.
Yes.
They're the gatekeepers of that, but not the Constitution. They're more so oath breakers than they are oath keepers.
There you
go. If they truly were to uphold the Constitution and withhold the corporate complex laws in which we shouldn't even be operating under, then we'd have a much different society today. And you know what? No one would want to defund the police because the police would actually be doing their job and arresting the correct perpetrators and traitors.
Let's talk about police for a second. Are they law enforcement officers?
They're enforcers of the law, which is the corporate laws and statutes.
Time out. What is that license? I brought this up the other night. What license do they have? And I had cops on the stand that just broke down right after I've done this to them. So are you a licensed law enforcement officer? Yes, I am.
Well, the state made me so.
Great. Great. Can I see your license, please?
Mm-hmm.
And they pull that license out. What does it say? Licensed peace officer.
Peace officer. Mm-hmm.
So
tyranny officer.
Your duty is to uphold the peace. When did you learn law? Did you go to law school? What? So how can you be a law enforcement officer if you don't even know the God-blessed law?
Hoorah. The truth is the truth. You heard it from him first, people. And I know we've been saying this for a while, either which way. But all of these petty tax collectors and henchmen and kingsmen, they're not part of we the people. They're usurpers. They were given the power to overthrow us.
But we also have to have that ounce of forgiveness in our system, okay? And God tells us we need to be forgiving. But at the same point, those that have knowingly and willingly, and that's court documents right there, knowingly and willingly usurped for a paycheck the rights of the American people, that's an act of treason.
Yes, it is. Because you rather do something that's a little bit past what we the people would consider, okay, we'll let you get away with it this time, just so you can have a pension at the end of the day. You'll look the other way when you see a crime as you're walking down the street. You won't call it in. You won't bother doing anything about it yourself. Because you know what? I'm not going to risk my life and my pension, this and that. Well, meanwhile, that's what you swore to do. You swore to protect people as well.
Yeah, but let's go back to a Supreme Court ruling 1975. And that's Warren versus DC. Write it down. I want you to look it up.
Warren versus DC.
Mm-hmm. In that Supreme Court ruling, it clearly stated police don't have the responsibility to protect us.
Which is a very sad thing. I remember hearing that. And if this is the case, Warren
versus Columbia, 1975. I believe it's 1975. Look it up. And that was
judges held that the police were under no specific legal duty to provide protection to the individual plaintiffs and dismissed the complaints. In a 2-1 decision, the District of Columbia Court of Appeals determined that Warren, Taliaferro, and Nicole, which are also part of this, were owed a special duty of care by the police department and reversed the trial court rulings. In a unanimous decision, the court also held that Douglas failed to fit within the class of persons to whom a special duty was owed and affirmed the trial court's dismissal for a complaint. So this looks like that the cops were trying to I'm just reading into the background of the whole entire case.
Yeah, how about these women were for 17 hours straight?
And the cops can choose not to engage and take down the raper.
Yep. Two rapers. 4 women were raped for 17 hours straight. And because the cops did not act, and the cops got away with it because, what did the Supreme Court ruling say?
You guys are not held liable in any which way to uphold the law. And you're owed pardons, and you are dismissed from any special duty of care by the police department if you are under no specific legal duty to provide protection to the individual plaintiffs.
Individual
complaints are dismissed.
That's how they played it. Is they protect the public, but an individual, they have no duty to protect the individual. They have a right to protect the public. Do you see how disgusting that is?
That's why a lot of the cops, they're not really for us. And I keep telling people all the time, you have no jurisdiction nor duty nor any type of self-appointee. If you are telling me right now that I can't shout at the top of my lungs in New York City with a bullhorn or playing music or whatever the case may be, because everywhere I went with my bullhorn, because I'm a rally man, I'm a bullhorn guy, I'm a front liner and first liner. Every single time I've had any type of noise disturbing the peace, I've been approached by a police officer that told me I cannot have that device on me. But meanwhile, hey, it's no problem if a liberal drives by, gives you the finger, curses, spits, throws things at you, because they're driving by. But that's still driving recklessly there, because last time I checked, you're supposed to have two hands on the wheel. They're allowed to almost run people over, pull over, and then throw eggs at you.
I'm not even going to go there with you, Frankie. I'm just not, because everybody has the right to disagree with me, and I'm fine with that. But the bottom line is, the right to self-protection cannot be infringed under the Second Amendment.
Yep,
so
thank you.
If I delegated limited power to a police officer, did I give up my right? So why can't I have a gun on my hip?
And why can't we have automatic rifles?
The bottom line is we can. And it's all provided under the Second Amendment. If you remember the case where I won that case in San Antonio, he was a bar owner. He was 38 years old, had a wife and 3 kids. And he had a felony conviction where he did 4 years probation when he was 18 for drug possession. And he cleaned up his act. And here he is, a bar and restaurant owner. And every night he brings $5,000 to $10,000 cash money to the bank deposit. And he carries a pistol. Well, he gets pulled over for a traffic citation. And cops simply ask, do you have any weapons? He says, yes, I carry a pistol with me because I do the night deposit. Well, cop goes back to his squad car and sees the man had a felony.
Oh no.
Oh no. So they're going to give my client 10 years in prison. Here he is, a responsible business owner and a father of 3 and a husband that provides a service for the community. They're going to put him in prison for 10 years for felony in possession of a weapon. I simply walked into the courtroom, and this is just before the scamdemic came down. This is in San Antonio, Texas. You can look it up. I walked in there as assistance of counsel, not his attorney, assistance of counsel. Simply asked one question. What part of the Second Amendment does this court not grasp? And the judge looked at me, and I already had my reputation as not to be a man to be screwed with. And it's like, this guy, my client was already sitting down at the table, and I just come walking in with my big black coat on, cowboy hat, big boots, walked right up there, slammed my shit down on the table, said, okay, I'm here as counsel.
May the buyer beware when you mess with Rick Martin. You know, it's funny. When we start talking about this is exactly what other people need to start doing. You have to press the courts, you have to check and challenge them, and if you don't, okay, well, then that's your fault.
Have you trespassed on my rights, court? And that's exactly what I said to that court when I said, what part of the Second Amendment does this court not grasp? What part? Mr. Martin, we're going to dismiss the case. They didn't say my client's name. They said my name. And I'm like, and I'm not even listed as counsel.
You don't have to. The
I
same
know
way a lot
that.
of people
I
recently
know
have been
that.
cursing out the judges in the courtroom, and they're like, "Oh, please stop yelling, otherwise we have to kick you out." Nope, sorry, I'm going to continue to say you guys are tyrants. Fuck you, screw you, this that. Well,
let me just say this. Okay, you have the right to swear and cuss and all that stuff, but don't do it. It makes you look bad. And when I see these First Amendment auditors and they start swearing and cussing, stop. Makes us look bad. When you hold yourself properly and you just don't get pissed off and you keep your calm, it's what messes with them the most. Because, A, they're trying to create that reaction to where you act, where you show like you're out of control.
right, you're out of control. Case dismissed. Get out of my courtroom.
And when you can sit there and you can lower your voice like I do, and you say, Judge, what part of the Second Amendment don't you agree with? And you ask them, what part of the Second Amendment don't you agree with? And it's like, wait a minute. He just asked me if I agree with the Second Amendment, which I took an oath of office to uphold and defend. And this motherfucker, pardon my French, hey, we're just doing this. This is not court.
I'm grabbing whiskey. Hang on a second. This is getting good.
Throw them under the bus like that. They're like, oh shit.
I have one decanter that I drink my whiskey from, and make no mistake about it, it says "We the People."
Awesome.
It should really say "We the Drinkers," but
well, do you
we
know
the people
that
are diehard Americans?
Do you know who owned the largest distillery in America at the time of the Revolutionary War?
The largest distillery?
Who had the largest distillery before the Revolutionary War and after?
Washington.
You bet your biscuits.
wait. I mean, look how many recipes he took actually from the place up the street from me. It's called the 1776 house. He loved the recipe so much for his own personal ale. It was the ale that made Washington smile, because Washington never used to smile a lot. And he took that recipe. he loved it so much that he brought it down to his plantation in Virginia.
He also had him and Thomas Jefferson had the largest hemp fields as well.
Right. They were big hempers.
Okay. And on top of that, what was the majority of the constitutionalists uniforms made by? Hemp, not cotton.
Even the Constitution was written on the hemp, right?
You bet your biscuits. Thank you for bringing that one up. So when did hemp become unlawful? Actually, illegal, not unlawful. When did that happen?
Once the Corporation of America was instilled.
Well, let's go back to
later on during the 1900s. That's when they really did it.
1937.
1937. There you go.
And anyhow, well, let's just say one of the biggest publishers bought 50,000 acres of pine trees, and it was cheaper to make paper with hemp than it was pine pulp. But guess what? One of these scumbags that was a publisher, and I'm gonna let you guys do your homework on it and find out who it was. He wanted to get rid of hemp. And in 1937, they used the terminology, and this is a fact. I've got the paperwork on it. They said that hemp had to be eradicated from the United States because, A, here's the fear mongering. it would make a black man rape a white woman.
Oh, what a bunch of pussycats. Bunch of traitorous devil dogs. Yep. And again, they want to bring in race as the main reason to ban anything these days too. It's identical. It's identical. Oh, we got to get rid of all the guns because a white man's going to go shoot up a black church and all this other crap.
Well,
fake
you
news.
and I both know that the race card is to separate us.
That's right.
It's just that simple. And, you know, I never knew prejudice until I came to Houston. And I was only one of the 6 white kids in the school. And I literally had to fight for my lunch every day. And I was like, it was reverse racism because
there's such a thing as it.
Surrounded by blacks and Mexicans, Spanish, and they looked at me as easy target because there was only six white kids in the whole school. Well, they found out I wasn't an easy target, even back then.
Sorry, not sorry. Just because you think I'm some white powdery cracker that can get snapped in two doesn't mean I am. Well, messing with a diehard American.
I think race is one of those things that, see, I'm different from most people. Is when I grew up in Vermont, my first 10 years of my life were in Vermont, and my babysitter was a black girl that was adopted by a white family. Okay.
And she was probably treated nicely.
Well, give me the moments here, Frankie. So at 4 years old, I just figured black people came from white people. I don't know about adoption. At 4 years old, you actually think I know about adoption? I knew her mom and her dad, and I knew her sister. Her sister was white. Her mom and dad were white. She was black. I just figured she was left in the oven too long. I don't know.
Crispy.
But I figured black people came from white people. I didn't know any better. And I loved her to death. I mean, she was my babysitter. She was the head of our local gang. You know, I mean, little kids. I mean, you know how we all had our gangs that we ran with when we were kids, right? I'm sure you did. You're in New York City, for crying out loud. I'm sure you had a bunch of, you know, other guys and girls that you hung with. And they were like our local terrorist group, you know? I mean,
that's the way we were treated. Together. But we all hung out together. We were all friends.
Yeah.
We used to fight with each other and
stuff, but we were always friends.
Right.
You know, and here's Lisa. She was pretty much the head of our gang. I used to drive her crazy because I liked putting my hands in her fro. You know, she'd give me a shoulder ride because I was a little squirt. And I'd love messing with her fro. And she was like, would you stop it? But see, I didn't know that I was supposed to hate her.
No.
Because I wasn't.
It's only taught.
It is taught.
It's taught. No one cared. Even at the martial arts school where I teach all my students at, the majority are Black and Latino. And everyone treats each other with respect and dignity.
That's what it's supposed to be. And
no one cares about what race they are. Because at the end of the day, you're all on the mat. You're all training together. You're all friends together. You celebrate. I mean, hell, they can't wait to celebrate each other's birthdays. We have pizza parties and everything. We go nuts over there. And then sometimes I'll hear the woke jargon get mentioned out of somebody's mouth, and I stop what I'm doing. And I said, everyone sit down. And I said, you're going to listen to me real loud and clear this time. I said, if I hear any of that nonsense again, not only do I want you to tell me who taught it to you, I want you to do an apology to the whole entire class, and I want you to write me a 3-page essay as to why you shouldn't be saying any of that crap in my school
Well,
and in
good.
general.
I applaud you on that.
I make them stop right away.
I applaud you on doing that, because what I was getting at is when I came to Houston and I was like the only white kid around, it was amazing how they hated me because I was white.
You'll see that a lot more, and they always like to play as if it's the white man that hates the black man. I beg to differ. Because if you take a look at the majority of all the hate crimes, if you want to call them that,
Yeah.
will happen not because of white people.
And,
Like you take 3 years ago with Stop
narrative.
Asian Hate. That wasn't it. White people didn't do the majority of crime against Asians. They're going back to like old school 1900s, 1800s treatment in which most white people had no idea that other people existed from other countries until they came over here. You know what I mean? Because a lot of them did not have the luxury of travel. They didn't know how far the earth went. And when it came right down to it, they were considered strangers. So, of course, when you have a tribe in one place and another tribe comes in, what is that tribe going to think now? Oh, who are these people? I don't know. The same way the Native Americans looked at white people like we were invaders. And I understand that. We were
invaders.
we were. But we didn't come here just to. We were
running away from tyranny.
Right.
And we found a new story. We were running away from tyranny. We found a new land. And it wasn't until the British followed us here. Think about it that way. Their corruption followed us here. That whole, we look at history and you look at, Squanto.
Yeah, that was a terrible thing that happened.
Do you know Plymouth Rock? Let's go back to that one for kicks. They went off course. They were supposed to be in Jamestown. How many people did Jamestown existed? Excuse me.
Jamestown was the first. Yep, Virginia was, because Virginia was the first colony, and Jamestown was named after King James.
So let's get back to it. And do you know why Jamestown became Jamestown? Remember Sir Walter Raleigh? He stole to have tobacco. Only the royals had tobacco. Guess what? He came here and started planting tobacco.
How do you like those apples?
Yeah, that was a death sentence if you were caught with tobacco seeds.
How dare you smoke tobacco only for us royal people? How dare you, Mr. Martin? How dare you? You are smoking tobacco right now, you insolence. I shall throw you in jail.
We can get into. There is so much we can get into about the founding of this nation. And let me tell you,
people wouldn't care.
The e-tax. It was when they started taxing whiskey. And I can prove this. Everything I say, I can back it up with facts. It was when they started to tax whiskey because the British, and it was cheaper to make whiskey than it was to take wagons of corn into town. And let me tell you, yeah, you could sell corn, but damn, you could sell whiskey too. And whiskey was a way they were using that as dollar bills. They would trade whiskey. Do you know what a bootlegger is, right? It's where they would carry whiskey in their boots and they would trade with the Native Americans,
right?
The whiskey they had in their boot.
In their boots, right? I remember that story. That's where it came from.
Look at where these terms come from. It's amazing. Right. Yeah, he's a bootlegger. In other words, he's gonna make trades with the Native Americans, which we're not Indians. I mean, Jiminy Crickets. I mean, we're a long way from India, aren't we?
Well, now we know, yeah. I'm going to read this real quick.
Go
It has
for it.
exactly everything to do with what we're talking about. This is Thomas Jefferson on decentralized government. And this was, oh God. This came out 18, Right, it's Writings of Thomas Jefferson, Volume 1. They published it in 1853. Doesn't say when he wrote this. But he goes to say this. It is not enough that honest men are appointed judges. All know the influence of interest on the mind of man, and how unconsciously his judgment is warped by that influence. To this bias, add that of the esprit de corps, of their particular maxim and creed, that it is the office of a good judge to enlarge his jurisdiction, quote unquote, and the absence of responsibility. And how can we expect impartial decision between the general government, of which they are themselves so eminent a part of, and an individual state from which they have nothing to hope or fear? We have seen, too, that, contrary to all correct example, they are in the habit of going out of the question before them to throw an anchor ahead and grapple further hold for future advances of power. They are then, in fact, the corpse of sappers and miners, steadily working to undermine the independent rights of the states and to consolidate all power in the hands of that government in which they have so important a freehold estate. But it is not by the consolidation or concentration of powers, but by their distribution that good government is effective. Were not this great country already divided into states, that division must be made, that each might do for itself what concerns itself directly, and what it can so much better do than a distinct authority. Every state, again, is divided into counties, each county again into townships or wards to manage minuter details, and every ward into farms to be governed each by its individual proprietor. Where we directed from Washington when to sow, and when to reap, we should want bread. It is by this partition of cares, descending in gradation from general to particular, that the mass of human affairs may be best managed for the good and prosperity of all. I repeat that I do not charge the judges with willful and ill-intentioned error, but honest error must be arrested where its toleration leads to public ruin. As for the safety of society, we commit honest maniacs to bedlam. I guess that's where I wrote this from. So judges should be withdrawn from their bench, whose erroneous biases are leading us to dissolution. It may indeed injure them in fame or in fortune, but it saves the republic, which is the first and supreme law.
Absolutely. Now, what I want you to do is, you've got your computer running. Before I got attacked, I had 6 laptops going whenever I did shows. Remember that? If you remember, when I would do things, I was able to pull things.
I've always enjoyed it, sir.
So, but I want you to look up 1796 Cruden versus Neal.
1796?
Yes, it's Cruden, Cruden versus Neal, Neale. Cruden versus Neal. Okay? I want you to look up that. And guys, give me a minute. I got to pause because, my eyes are turning yellow, if you can get that. Okay. And what's wonderful about living in the country is I can walk out. I might be freezing my balls off right now, but I'm going to go outside the garage and piss on the other side of the garage.
Be careful over there. You might find a liberal spying on you. Probably wants to watch. That's how perverted they are. This case is going to be something because he's trying to give you guys the reason why we say what we say when it comes to the government and its overreach on the people. When Rick comes back, we'll ask him that question, Patriot 338, if he knows any 2A lawyers, which I'm sure he does. But in the meantime, I just want to really thank all of you for staying in. We're almost at an hour and 15 minutes. And it's always a delight having Rick on here or any other Relentless Patriot. That's why we are the Relentless Patriots. Don't forget, we have our website. We have our podcast. You listen to all the different episodes. We have over 50 episodes on record of all this additional information that if you are truly wanting to know why we say what we say, the truth has been spoken in every single one of those episodes. It's on Spotify. You can look up our podcast, The Relentless Patriots, on there. You can go to therelentlesspatriots.com. We have all these different channels, including Rick Martin's Constitutional Group on there and different MAGA rappers and artists. We also have another guest, believe it or not, that we will try our best to interview next week. And, since we're on the subject of pilgrims and the 1600s, what a better way to talk about Thanksgiving, because that's who we're praising. And we're praising our nation was made to sacrifice under God.
Let's talk about the Pilgrim Society for a minute.
Go ahead.
How many people know who the Pilgrim Society is? That's actually your deep state, ladies and gentlemen. We were not called, when they came over, they were not called pilgrims.
No, they were not.
They were called separatists.
Separatists.
But I want people to take the time to look up what the Pilgrim Society is, and you're going to find out that they were established in 1902, and that's the true deep state, ladies and gentlemen. These little Satanists are what have infiltrated our republic. And how many people keep calling us a democracy? And every time I hear that, it makes my skin crawl, because we were never meant to be a democracy. We're a Republican form of government.
Period.
And what a Republican form of government mean is we elect others to do our bidding. We are the sovereign. We elect politicians. I hate the word politician, but
politicians, yeah.
I mean,
I'm going to drop this knowledge, Rick. Pilgrim Society, founded July 16th. Everyone listen up. 1902, by Sir Harry Brittan. Oh, the last name sounds awfully familiar. Is a British.
Did you hear what I said? Just like I've got Epstein's papers, I know each and every one of the Pilgrim Society. So now I'm going to let you continue. But yes, I do have it.
Soon to be released to the public. And it's a British American society established, in the words of American diplomat Joseph Choate, to promote goodwill, good fellowship, and everlasting peace between the United States and Great Britain. I beg to differ, Mr. Britain and Mr. Choate, because I don't want anything to do with my supreme leaders, because they're not supreme leaders. They're tyrants, they're inbred, and they're outright annoying with their accents and their fancy pants that were aristocratic tea and the pinky in the air, and let me wear my wig. We don't want you here. We're Americans. The majority of Americans don't believe in wigs. We believe in whiskey, guns, cigars, Constitution.
You know, I just fell in love with you. No, I'm not a homosexual, but
we don't want to be ran by a tyrannical inbred king. We want to be able to run the show ourselves. We don't need government. And people need to get on, with that already. I'm tired of saying, well, why do you want to rock the boat so much? Why do you care? There's nothing that you can do. Well, guess what? If everyone said that, no one would be doing anything. And we would probably be further enslaved, that much more than we already are.
Okay, let's go with the term government. 2 words combined.
Definition, people. Here we go.
Definition. The word "ment" means mind. Well, govern is pretty much self-explanatory, is it not? That means
Yes,
mind
it is.
control. Duh.
Would you like to be mind controlled for the rest of your miserable lives? Because that's what it is. We have
Well,
a question from one of our
the
viewers
first
here.
time, hold on, let me finish.
Go ahead.
The first time government was we the people control the minds of our legislators, not vice versa. Oh,
Thank you.
what a concept. We control the minds of our elected officials because A, we the people are the sovereign. Government is our bitch, not our master. Oops, Rick just said that. Well,
Oh,
our founding fathers said that.
so sorry to disappoint you. Patriot 238 has a question. Do you know any 2A lawyers? Which I'm sure you do. But if you want to give some references here, I'll drop it in the chat.
Well, you hit me up. Tell me what state you're in, and I will get you in touch with somebody that I actually believe has the authority in knowledge. And when I said the authority in knowledge, to assist you as assistance of counsel. Okay, you do not want a bar attorney because the moment you hire a bar attorney, you're now an imbecile of unsound mind and now a ward of the court, automatically giving jurisdiction to the court over you because, A, you can't handle your own affairs. So, what you want is an assistance of counsel, somebody learned in the law, and it could be a bar attorney, but you don't hire them as an attorney. You use them as assistants of counsel, which is totally protected under the Sixth Amendment, the right to assistance of counsel. The Bar Association didn't even come into play until 1909 in Chicago, Illinois. Nah. How does that supersede the Constitution? I don't see how it does.
It does not. It's unlawful. It's Rothschild-esque, Bank of England-esque. The Bar Association was created as such from it. So we don't have to abide by it. It's not even American.
And what did the original 13th Amendment, if you look it up, and it's in your state, New Jersey, was found in the archives of New Jersey and Maine. The original 13th Amendment was amended, and that was the whole reason for the War of 1812, because in 1809, they proposed an amendment stating that nobody with titles of nobility may hold office in government. Whoops. And what did the British do? They came over and attacked us again, burnt down our courthouses and the White House to kind of get rid of that amendment, the 13th Amendment, which clearly stated nobody with titles of nobility. What is a bar attorney? They're esquires under the crown.
They're esquires under the crown. Correct. I keep saying that.
Can't imagine why our judicial system is so fucked up.
That's right. I keep telling people that Britain still owns us. They are the highest share and stockholder in the entire United States. They still own the majority of our land, the majority of our government, and people just look at me like I have 10 eyes. So
I only see 2, but
listen up. We'll see 10 in a second. Just keep having some more whiskey, I guess, folks. But that's what we do here on the Relentless Patriot Network. We actually talk about things that truly do matter. And if more people were to open their minds and open their ears, they'd understand that they've been usurped.
And how about our founding fathers? They met in the pubs and in the churches. Keep that in mind.
Cheers. And sooner or later, we're going to bail Rick Martin out of his place there. And before he turns into a popsicle, we can't allow this warrior, this true American, to go alone there, because we need to start linking up together and telling people, hey, this is what happens when we the people start talking. and we start coming up with the ideas.
When I was able to get a lot of those people from being arrested or were arrested on January 6th, the FBI was going out and they're like, oh my God, when they heard about the arrest, did you see the paperwork that we did? And I'm sure Michelle will show it to you. I just told them, don't answer the door, slip this paperwork under the door. And the FBI agents were leaving. And it's pretty vicious. And, FBI is an agency that was never signed into office by a president. It was only by the Secretary of State. So the FBI is a fraud to begin with. And
Herbert Hoover.
So much stuff that you think is legit. Agencies are not legit. I'm sorry. And can they hurt you? Yes, they can. Don't get me wrong. But until we, the people, and we have somebody that's we put in office. We asked Donald Trump to run. He didn't want to run. I'm just going to tell you that. Those that are against Donald Trump, I've had my suspicions with him as well. But I know
there are questions that need to be answered.
I know that what we've been doing behind the scenes for decades, when we asked him to run, he didn't want to do it. Not for a second. But when we made this question that you heard me bring, what good is wealth if you lose your nation? You heard me say that, and I was on stage with Donald Trump in New Jersey when he called me the most dangerous man in the world, and he didn't say that in a negative phrase. You remember that, don't you?
Yes, I do. Matter of fact, I remember watching it when it happened. And, since then, believe it or not, and even 2021, when I met you and we were in Bedminster together at the corner. And then we served the papers, and then we've been fighting ever since, believe it or not, because.
And I commend you for staying with us on it, because it takes, we've got to, it's like a marathon. It really is. We just got to, waking up the American people is not an easy task, as you pretty much figured out on your own. And let me tell you, you're going to get arrows. You're going to, you've seen what's happened to me. I mean, they stripped me of my everything I own. And it's only the grace of God that I'm still in this. I mean, I fight because, what I told Donald Trump straight up before he even ran for president, told him straight up, what good is your wealth if you lose your nation? And that's a point to keep in mind.
You don't have a nation, you don't have wealth. What are you going to be building on? If you ask me, we got to get rid of the dollar bill, because of everything that is.
You got to know what the dollar bill was meant to begin with. What is a dollar? A dollar is a measurement. A dollar is not that paper salad that you have in your wallet.
No.
A dollar is an ounce of silver. That is considered a dollar. 1 ounce of silver is a dollar.
If that's not an eye opener for most of you, I don't know what is. And then they turned it into a note, an IOU.
Absolutely, they have. And that was the Federal Reserve Act that happened in 1913.
1913, that piece of garbage.
Yep.
That piece of garbage. He said, oh my God, what did I do to my country? I sold it out. Yeah, no crap, you sold it out.
Yeah, but before they did that, they had to sink not the Titanic, but the Olympia.
The Olympia. Now, another fact. You can look that up too. When Rick Martin told me that last year, I said, what? There wasn't such thing as the Titanic. I mean, there was, but there was also its twin ship.
That was before it, that A,
That was before
they
it.
collected the insurance on it because it was not insurable. So, what did they do? They built another stack on it and they called it the Titanic and then made the Titanic the Olympia. Oops.
And
The
killed all
shit
the
I
people that were
know.
against the banks.
The shit
For
I know.
it. People think I'm crazy when I start talking. Guys, forget it.
Then they know I'm batshit crazy when I talk because I know so much. And it's like, no wonder I drink scotch, for Christ's sake.
I don't know what's stronger, the scotch or the whiskey, because it's definitely worth it. It's Thanksgiving Eve. We got a lot to be grateful for and thankful for. And I'm telling you this. Happy Thanksgiving to all you naysayers out there that rather, and I've seen this with Trump supporters. Okay, some of you Trump supporters out there, you're more apologetic than a liberal is about Thanksgiving to the Native Americans. Why? Don't apologize for something that you did not do. I have Native American ornaments and relics all around my room, and I appreciate their culture. And if I was part of the Pilgrim Society back then, I still wouldn't bother you. Okay, but the fact is this: you shouldn't have to apologize for something in which, one, Thanksgiving is not a lie, and it wasn't built off a lie. It wasn't built off the 1619 Project. Okay, you don't have to apologize for what a few bad people did. Why would a whole bunch of poor, tired, starving, smelly because they didn't bathe, bunch of people that wanted to be away from a tyrant, that sacrificed everything, including dying on the way here, why would they want to enslave another society or another being of people? All you have to do is look at the lords that followed shortly. And there's your answer as to why all that stuff happened. It wasn't the average person like you or me that wanted to be free and be left alone. Okay? If you take a look at the majority of pilgrims or separatists, if you will, if that is the proper term, if you take a look at them, most of them, when they got here, were also slaughtered the minute they got off the boat. No one talks about that from all the pilgrim diary accounts that I have.
The right to be
Their homes
left
were burned,
alone.
torched, the women and children were stolen and raped. Yeah, a lot of things happened to the white people when the Native Americans saw them land, and when they started building their homes and cabins and whatnot. A lot of things happened. A lot of diary accounts. So let's not apologize for something, because we're not celebrating that, people. We're celebrating unity,
And
gathering the first harvest.
Thank you for that. Because, we came together as a society with the ones that were here before us. And they protected our lives and we protected theirs. We called it friendship.
Thank
you. And how many people knew that Squanto was a Christian? What? Yeah.
And most Native Americans today, what are they? Christian, because they understood, oh man, this is the truth. Okay. How about all the ones that down in Puerto Rico, all the Indians down there, when they met Columbus? What did Columbus do? He taught them about Christianity. He didn't slaughter people. Give me a break. And matter of fact, he died poor and enslaved by his own sailors, his own crewmen.
How many people know that Columbus was Polish?
It's either Polish, right, or Jewish.
No, he was.
Spanish,
He was Polish. He was not Italian. He was not Spanish. He was Polish. He was given his charter by the Italians. Okay. He was given his charters by the Spanish.
Right.
But he was Polish. Let me put it this way. Your Norwegians were your sailors. I mean, come on, your Vikings. I mean, they knew about sailing better than those in the Mediterranean did.
Because they were in America long before we even landed.
You bet your biscuits they were.
I don't know if you guys knew that, but if you look up Leif Erikson, he landed in Maine back in the early 1100s.
Yep.
And even prior to that, you also had the war.
He was the son of Eric the Red.
Eric the Red.
All the way to Greenland. And his son made it all the way to America and British Columbia. They originally landed in British Columbia. And if you go back to like places in New Hampshire and Vermont, you will see stuff that they built in America. Caves and stuff. I mean, they
found Viking swords and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Stashes of gold.
And they actually made it all the way to Michigan. They made it to Michigan. There's artifacts in Michigan that are Viking stuff. And they also found Hebrew writing.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
There was also a cave that they found in Las Vegas, somewhere around the outskirts of Las Vegas in Nevada. And they had found the same thing. There were Viking treasure hoards. It was out of nowhere. And then same thing in the Grand Canyon. They found all these different relics, Egyptian relics too, and underground pyramids. Crazy.
The United States will not let you go to those places in the Grand
No,
Canyon.
they won't. Just like they won't let you go to a certain point in Denver International Airport with the underground military bunkers and complexes. But all the time capsules and the different murals have been opened.
How about Denver? How about Denver Airport? I brought that one up during the whole scamdemic. Do you remember me talking about that? When you had all these masks with and this is back in 1996, they painted that mural. In 1986,
United Nation mural.
And everybody's wearing diapers on their face. Come on. They knew what they were doing. They know what they're doing. I mean, this is a battle. This is a spiritual battle between good and evil. It's that simple. And if we, the people, can't recognize it, I mean, are we that delusional? I mean, have we watched TV too much or
yes. What? I believe the majority of people think that TV is their reality and that everything that we're saying is just made up fiction.
Well, you know what? It's fun bantering back and forth. But the thing is we all have to take responsibility for what we do. And if we have the information and we don't share it, we're the ones that are the true sinners. Think about it that way.
I agree. If you hold all this information and knowledge to yourself, then you're just a selfish person. And what's the point if you're not spreading knowledge?
You know,
you take
if we're not going to be a society, one nation under God, then what are we going to be? What are we going to be? That's always a good question. What are we going to be? What do we want for ourselves and our posterity if we're not willing to step up the plate, take the risks that are needed? I mean, what's a life worth if it's not free?
And that's exactly what the forefathers spoke about, fought about, died for. And we have to remember this. There was something very special that Washington had said about the when he mentioned the Articles of Confederation and wrote them. And it goes something like this. And it's the first 3 segments of the Articles of Confederation. And he mentions that we, the Confederate and the Confederation of Sovereign States. Okay? We are sovereign. We're free. We don't need a centralized government, or a union. The Articles of Confederation the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights are all the laws of the land. That's what we need to operate by. We need to understand that. And the Federalist Papers to a certain point, but I don't agree with everything that was written by Hamilton, because Hamilton wanted.
I don't like Hamilton.
Me neither.
I think Hamilton was a sellout.
He was a traitor.
He's actually listed as spy number 7.
Yeah, because he wanted to put us into the banks.
No, don't agree with me. Look it up yourself. Hamilton is listed as spy number 7 for the British Crown.
Like I would not be surprised. But meanwhile, he fought during the war.
Never take my word for anything. Look it up.
Spy, the Princeton University, Amazon, in the book, Spy Number 7. This volume is concerned with the effort of Alexander Hamilton, designated as number 7 in the dispatches of a British secret agent.
There you go.
Secretary of the Treasury, aided by powerful support in the Senate and the House of Representatives, to guide American foreign policy toward a closer connection with Great Britain. This book shows that Hamilton revealed secret cabinet discussions to British intelligence agencies and failed to inform Washington and Secretary of State Jefferson of his discussions with that British agent, and finally, under impact of the war crisis, informed them falsely. Hamilton committed almost the gravest offense of which a cabinet officer can be guilty in his role of responsible advisor to the head of a state. Well, I'm not surprised. Why? Because he tried to put in our system with the banks.
Now,
to make a centralized.
Let me ask you, brother in arms. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know. I did not know he was a spy.
And by having a relationship with this drunk Rick Martin, now you know that to be a fact. Not speculation. It's fact.
Agreed. And we need more facts like that to defeat the deep state and all the other surface mouth breathers out there that rather think Hamilton was a hero. I mean, he was during the Revolutionary War, but even then, how much damage did he even do?
He did a lot of damage. And it was all leading up to the next war, the War of 1812.
I spoke about that in New Hampshire when I went up there with Derek Arnold and whatnot. And no one knew that the militia up there had their own battle flag. It had Washington's insignia, "Don't tread on me," and "Skull and Bones." And I spoke at length for a good half an hour or so as to why people need to really study that war. That's a war that no one talks about. It lasted for 2 years, but even so, the British came back because of...
Why did it start? That's what you need to look into. And everybody listening to this podcast needs to listen. It was because of they were going to amend the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment clearly stated nobody with titles of nobility, and it was amended. And we have
amended, so that way they would.
It was amended. And it stayed on the history books all the way up to 1858. Why? Think about that. Now, was Lincoln a good guy? No, Lincoln was not a good guy.
The tyrant.
But at the same point, when he realized that he was being used, that's when we got good things out of Lincoln.
Right. He tried to help us. He tried to save.
He tried to turn the tables when he realized what he had done.
He came out with the Green Deal, everyone. If you don't know what the Green Deal is, he tried to make our money sovereign and separate from the banks, but it was already too late.
Yep.
It's already too late. And that was one good deed that he did, although he kept the South in martial law for 5 to 10 years on average after and disarmed.
We're still under martial law today. I can prove it. Because there was never a declaration of peace.
No, it was a forced union.
We're still under martial law to this day. That's the reason why have statute and code.
And that's why we're flying the corporate flag. You know, as
Nope.
much as I
It's the
love
war
the history behind Old Glory,
flag.
it's
the
not
war
really
flag.
our flag. It is our war flag. It's our maritime war flag.
Mm-hmm.
It's our enslavement flag. And I keep trying to say this to Republicans, but they don't listen.
Well, fly what I fly. Don't tread on me.
Don't tread on me. I always have the join or die, you know, because it is true. United we stand, divided we fall.
And
if we're going to be United States here, people, then it's time to unite behind a common cause. Not just the flag. The flag represents certain parts of American history.
It represents us unified under one banner. United we stand, divided we fall. One banner, one nation under God, our Creator. Remember, always say our Creator, because there are demigods out there, right?
Yeah, there are demigods. And matter of fact, the word God is supposed to be considered to be worshipped as Satan.
Thank you.
We saying Yahuwah and Yeshua or Yahweh. And, you know, that there's a whole bunch of biblical references to that because that's the way we actually breathe. And that's the way we speak.
The people, correct? God created we the people. And he's our creator, not Satan, not the evil powers. We the people created a government, one nation under God, the creator. And we're endowed with certain unalienable rights.
That's right. That shall not be infringed whatsoever. I agree, people. This has been a wonderful discussion so far. I really wish that more people would be up, which I'm sure they are, but they're too busy at a club or busy doing drugs and whatnot, and remaining underneath the matrix, you know, system and control.
Well, we're sitting here just bantering back and forth, and you know, I like. It's like what Scott and I used to do. You know, Lieutenant Scott Bennett. We just lost him. He was my
rest in peace.
And you know, we would get on things like this, and we just banter back and forth. And it wasn't argumentative. I mean, sometimes we get heated. Scott and I would get heated.
But it's worth having that conversation.
But we're always friends. And we're always looking for a meeting of the minds. What is a contract to begin with? It's a meeting of the minds. Both minds agree, and sometimes we agree to disagree. And I'm good at disagreeing.
Clearly, I mean that's what makes us American. We disagree with those in the majority that agree over many things. But that's what it is. What are the facts? What's the truth? What is the reality? And how best are we going to preserve?
Where are we going? The question is always going to be, where are we going that we all benefit from? Where are we going that we all benefit from? See, our founding fathers created a nation, and they risked everything to get there. 3% of the colonists supported them. 3% supported them.
Which is insane.
You know what? They said, you know what? God is behind us. We're going for it. God is behind it. We don't need the people behind us. God is behind what we're trying to accomplish. One nation under God, our Creator. And He's going to endow us with the rights that all mankind, and I hate the word human, get that out of your mouths. The word hue means color of man. If you look at Bouvier's Law Dictionary, what a human is, it says sea monster.
Right, sea monster. Someone that's unworthy of being a human. You are less of what you're a subhuman. Sub of man. You're a hue of man. You were supposed to be just called man.
Thank you.
And also, you guys can take a look at Black's dictionary, which came after. But it's same idea, same thing. If you guys don't know what person means, that means property, object, something that someone owns.
Yep.
You are owned. You are a person. I'm my own individualized person. Yeah, you're your own individualized property owned by the government. You're a person. Here, I'll just read the first three articles of the Confederation. The stylist Confederacy shall be called the United States of America. Oh, look at that. Did you Republicans know that? No. Each state retains its sovereignty. Oh, look at that. Freedom and independence in every power, jurisdiction, and right, which is not by this Confederation, expressly delegated to the United States and Congress assembled. The said states hereby severally enter into a firm league of friendship with each other for their common defense, the security of their liberties, and their mutual and general welfare, binding themselves to assist each other against all force offered to or attacks made upon them or any of them on account of religion, sovereignty, trade, or any other pretense whatsoever.
That's very powerful. It's extremely powerful. And how many people have never heard that before in their entire lives?
No, and I read that to them, and you take a look at some of them. Well, the majority of the forefathers, they all had said, "We are a confederacy. We are a bunch of states with individualized rights, all with the Constitution as the frame, and we're in firm league of friendship with each other to unify for the common cause."
Now, let me ask you this. If Spain were, I brought this up earlier, if Spain were to attack Delaware, well, you got the Confederation that comes to Delaware's offense, correct?
Correct.
That's why we united. We united for protection. That we wouldn't be just left out there, that Vermont and New York wouldn't show up to fight off the Spanish when they showed up on our shores. Come on, folks. United we stand, and that was the whole reason why we have federalism, is to protect us, and we all come to each other's defense. And every state is sovereign. But every state, if you look at Article 10, or should I say it's Article 10, but we call them amendments. Look at the 10th Amendment. All rights are what?
Pop quiz for everyone. All rights are what?
I'm throwing it at you. We need to get more people on this broadcast.
I know.
We need to get them talking, because I love questions. I do.
And you know what? If you take a look, and I'm actually looking at Amendment number 10 here.
Mm-hmm.
And what's funny about it is it's a very easy statement. It's a very easy statement, and it's not very long at all. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Where does it say government? Where does it say? Where does it say the feds? Yeah, that's right, nowhere. It's respectively to the states or to the people. Where does it say that we have to operate under the Bar Association or the Rothschilds or the big banks or Big Pharma? Under these statutes and codes. I wonder, Mr. Rick. I don't see. Maybe I need a microscope here. I don't know. I'm trying to find those words here, but it's not there.
I think the 10th Amendment is pretty bloody clear on when government usurped the power of we the people and became a corporation in 1871, where, A, when did you have the authority to do so? You never did.
Nope.
And there's 3 constitutions, and you email me, and I will send you all 3 constitutions.
We talking about the original? You know, it says for the Constitution versus of.
3. There's 3.
Wow.
And I will send them to you, and then you do a broadcast on it. When you see what I throw you, especially when I brought up Cruden versus Neal, that's a major case. That's a major case that has never been overturned. 1796. That was even before Marbury versus Madison, 1803. Oops. Now we're familiar with the Marbury versus Madison case, right?
Yeah, I remember you were telling me to look that up,
Chief
and I
Justice,
did.
Yeah, Chief Justice John Marshall clearly stated any law. Now, what is a law? A law is voted on by legislation. Now, who creates legislation? We, the people, vote people into legislation. Now, it says any law that is in violation of the Constitution. Okay, no, excuse me. Let me regress. Let me go back. Let me backtrack for a second. Chief Justice John Marshall clearly said any law, in other words, voted on by legislation, any law that is repugnant to the Constitution is no law, has no force of law, and can be ignored. Oops. Oops.
Oh, we got a whole bunch of laws that we're going to be ignoring very shortly. Mm-hmm.
So when a judge, a police officer, or God knows whoever government servant that trespasses on your rights and saying you're in violation of law, and I'm like, wait a minute, statutes and codes have never been law. So, I guess I have to go back to Marbury versus Madison and say, really?
I wonder what happened after the fact. Why people don't know that.
And those that act to usurp the Constitution are traitors. Oops. How about the fact that every courthouse in the United States has got a Dun and Bradstreet number, making them a for-profit corporation, making them a private entity?
Wait a minute now. Fact drops.
The people. Ooh, that things are getting a little heated here. I'm actually starting to warm up.
Sure, it's not the Scotch talking, sir.
Well,
oh my goodness,
I have a limited amount of Scotch, but you know,
if I was there, forget it. Forget it. We go all night with this. But Rick, it's been a damn pleasure. We're going on almost 2 hours now, which is incredible. And I've done like 3-hour podcasts, 4 hours with people because there's just that much information that has never been given to anyone. And that's what I do. We are information seekers. We are truth sayers and purveyors. We stand for what is right in this country.
All right. What we need to be is unifiers. Unifying we the people to become that one nation under God, once again, the way God intended it to be. And those that usurp the power of we the people, because we the people are the engine behind the Constitution. Always
That's
have,
right.
and always will be. And we the people standing united. I don't care what color you are, what religion you are. You can say, well, your God is not my God. Well, guess what? This is built on a Christian values, and I have no problem with the fact accepting you into the fold because I believe God will touch your heart, because freedom is in every man's heart, and to steal that freedom from others is an act of evil.
It is an act of evil, and why certain people don't think so, and that they think that we're beneath them and that we're just loyal subjects to the crown. That will never escape my mind. Is why we need to fight hard and not surrender, not give up.
Why should we surrender? What are we surrendering to? What are we surrendering? Yeah, here's another beer.
Oh yeah,
You gotta like this one.
was that IPA? Nice. Looks like a custom IPA there. Like it.
Yeah, but what are we surrendering to? When we surrender, what are we surrendering to? Because when we surrender, we're claiming another master other than our creator.
That's right. You surrender to
How
unyielding
many people have ever said that before? When you surrender, you're surrendering to a new master.
You're selling your soul.
What are you fighting for? Freedom. And who promised us freedom? One nation under God, the Creator. So when you surrender, what are you surrendering to?
You're surrendering to the slave master. You're surrendering to the Corporation of America. You're surrendering to the Bar Association. You're surrendering your soul to Satan. You're selling out.
If anything, what I've said tonight makes some sense.
Makes perfect sense in the eyes of the Patriot.
I got to pound off the cap of this bottle.
Cheers, you diehard American. I'm drinking whiskey out of a damn cup because I can't find my damn whiskey glass.
I've got my last bit of scotch in this glass, and I got my IPA Voodoo Ranger 9.0 in this bottle. So, yeah, I can outdrink most men, and anybody that's ever been in the military with me knows. I can drink all night long, and I still wake up and I'm on the battlefield in the morning.
Well, that's the way our forefathers did it.
I have not been cursed with hangovers like most people. Don't get them. Scott loved that about me. He's like, holy shit.
Now, guys, this is going to be one of many podcasts and episodes that we're going to do as well, because I need to take this and chop it up. But it's been an absolute pleasure tonight. And for those of you that are still on the fence of what it means to be a relentless patriot, simply tune in, ask questions, educate yourselves, read from our forefathers' writings, read from the Constitution, learn about real and truthful American history, study the flags, because there are many flags in the United States that represent America. And if we're going to truly unite underneath banners, and we're going to unite under God, and we're going to unite under our inalienable rights, this is the place to do it in. This is the country. This is the only country in the entire world that has this tight of a knitted fabric that can keep everyone together as one. And you
don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect.
No.
To be God's warrior. That's a fact. Look at me. You're going, well, shit, that's Rick. But that is Rick. And I'm not a selfish man. I've pledged my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor never to violate that sacred trust. One nation under God, indivisible, with justice for all. That being said, I think that's a good way to end this conversation. One nation under God with justice.
We're gonna
Chuck?
need some justice soon, Rick. And for those of you out there that are seeking it, hang out with us, speak with us on the side, hit us up, follow us, like, share, subscribe, visit our websites. You know, I mean, Rick, if you want to drop some stuff here, you want to give them your email and your website again, I'll type it in.
Well, just go to constitutionallawgroup.us. My personal email address is don't.tread.on.me.
Very simple.
At snakebite, one word, snakebite.com.
The information is out there. Let's make it go viral, guys. So far, we have a total of 30 viewers on all the cross platforms put together. I'm still working on the rest because you have to be subscribers and have a certain amount of viewers. But I'm happy to, to kickstart YouTube again because it's been a while. Yeah, at least a year or so. So
Well,
let's keep this momentum going. And I'm glad to have Rick with us again. And we are Relentless Patriots. We made this network for a reason. And it's time to awaken the snake. Take care, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Rick. Cheers.
God bless.
I'll call you back in a second. All right. Let me end this stream.
Good. Do I have my phone with me?